Brevan, it is the deciding weekend, well, as most people would say, of the Six Nations. Can you believe it? The moment that everyone's been waiting for. Now, we didn't have rugby last weekend. Well, Six Nations last weekend. But we did have an amazing John Cena heel turn, right? Which was absolutely class. And the people that are here would know that we are WWE fanboys, right? That was crazy. But we have to focus on the rugby. Sorry, I just had to bring it up because you just mentioned it earlier. Brevan, how are you doing? Are you excited for this week? And have you recovered from the John Cena heel turn?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. But yeah, super keen to get into this not last round of the Six Nations, but probably the decider. And yeah, haven't been back here for a little while. I mean, life is just grinding us at the moment, but we're trying. So
Yeah.
thank you for everyone that still supports, and I know we will get better. That's a promise. It's just right now life is seriously busy, but yeah, super keen, and yeah, it's actually I'm really looking forward to this weekend of Six Nations because I feel like there's a lot of interesting things that can happen. So yeah.
Yeah. No, like, to be fair, we have had our little power issues and stuff, but as you mentioned, life does get in the way. But both of us do have full-time jobs and stuff, and we just do this for the fun. So we do still appreciate everyone showing their love and support all the way. For us, this is purely fun. We do enjoy your company. We just fans talking about the game. So if that's your type of thing, then join us on this lovely little journey, and hit that subscribe button. But anyway, Brevan, before we'll obviously start off with the lovely Saturday opener with France versus Ireland. Wait, let's actually start with me asking you this: should this game have been Sunday, the same time, not the same time, in like replace the England-Italy game
It's
with this game? How good would that not have been? Like the whole
so,
Saturday lead up, everyone sitting and waiting for that Saturday game, and then boom, it happens.
yeah. I think yes, the placement of the game is very much doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, I would have liked it on a Saturday night. One of those Saturday nights in Dublin. I would have
You
really
just
liked
wanted to
that.
be pissed while watching the game. That's the thing.
No, no. Even
Brevan's an
Sunday.
alcoholic, by the way.
Yeah, far from it. But um, yeah, but anyway, like regardless of where the fixture when the fixture is, like it's both teams coming out with. Are we going to start with this game before I just
Yeah,
blank?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll
Okay,
start with.
cool. So both teams, one going 7-1 in France, one going 6-2 in Ireland. The teams look really strong. I can't even lie. Intermac back at 10, Ramos at 15, and like 7-1 on the bench. So DuPont's going to have to play that versatile role. Intermac's going to have to play a versatile role if it comes to that, and so will Ramos. Those are three players that you need that are going to play such important roles there. And then Ireland, obviously, backing Prendergast, which I did see a stat the other day. He currently has the most missed tackles in the Six Nations, which is a bit of a negative in my opinion. But
Are you
they've,
surprised?
I guess 10s aren't always the best defenders, but like I think he has over 15 missed tackles, and
Yeah,
that's a lot.
but he's pretty scrawny. He's still a very young guy. You know he's going to be targeted. Like
Yeah,
everyone knew that from the start.
yeah, 100%. Obviously, like I'm obviously not like saying it's red flags yet because he is still young,
Not at
but
all.
I'm glad to see that they've stuck with him, and it's clear to me that this guy is the guy that they're planning to go forward with. But yeah, like the decider,
No, but we also said that
crazy.
has to happen, right? With Prendergast, even though, let's say, if he played a bit of scrappy games and whatever, you had to back him there. What's the point of giving the guy the 10 jersey and not backing him in the big game? That's obviously what he's been building up for. Like, he's been ready for this game. He's been looking forward to this game. This is where he really gets tested up against some of the best, and doesn't really get much tougher going up against Roman Intermark. Not even that battle. I mean, look at the battles all over the park. You've got Dan Sheehan versus Mavaka. You've got Ty Byrne versus Flamont. You've got Aldry versus Doris. Dupont versus Gibson Park. Buniaki versus Mofana. Peno versus James Lowe. Mac Hansen versus Louis Bilbera. And then obviously Hugo Keenan versus Tom Ramos. Like these battles all over the park in this one. Like this is
Toulouse versus Leinster 2.0, literally. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But
it's
like,
I'm rubbing my hands together.
It's like I wish most rugby fans, because obviously like a lot of rugby fans only really pay attention to when their local team plays or when their national team plays, and then they don't kind of have this interest in other games like the Six Nations and that. But like I wish everyone could get this feeling, because I don't think people realize this is like such a highly anticipated game. And I think there's so much writing on the wall here, because realistically, there is a sense of pressure on Ireland's side to perform and get the win, because that they don't want to, even though they've won Grand Slams, they've won the Six Nations, but they won't want to bottle the Six Nations. They want to go Grand Slam. I'm sure
it will be seen as bottling history, right? Because as far as I can remember, I've said this previously, I can't remember someone winning the Six Nations 3 times in a row. Right, so obviously maybe someone has, but then they can equal that record, and then next season they build on that history again. They're playing at the Aviva. They do have, it's literally in their hands, right? Like a good performance by Ireland, that brings the trophy home for them. So, yeah, what a sexy battle this is. Now, we spoke about it earlier, and I kind of want to bring this point up again. Ireland not firing at all on all cylinders versus Wales. France as clinical as you humanly possibly can be, and then you have a weekend off. Was that kind of the perfect situation for Ireland not to get caught cold in this one?
I think so. I think it gave Ireland a week to reset, and it gave France a week to cool down, if that makes sense. So I think having that week break kind of, obviously, it does dampen a slight bit of momentum. But that's what Ireland would have wanted, because obviously they've been winning, but they haven't been performing like we know they can, right? And this obviously gives them a time to look at where things have gone wrong, take an extra week to work with things. So, look, I really think this is going to be an extremely tense game. I think you're going to see physicality. I think you're going to see some of the most flamboyant kind of rugby you can think of. I think it's going to be exciting. And
do you reckon it's high-scoring?
It's going to be that game where it's either, in my opinion, like that Springbok Island game in the World Cup, where it was, I think, obviously 13-8. I think it's going to either be something like that, or I think we're going to get like a 37, 32 type. Even that's a bit high, but I think it's going to be exciting. Like, I just think if you look at the attacking power on both teams, right? Ireland have this structured attack that's like this. It's clockwork. It works all the time. It's hard to combat it. And then you get France on the other hand, who are flary. They also obviously have a great structure, but they bring another type of speed to rugby. It's like they play very fast rugby, and when they get you getting on the back foot, we saw it against the Springboks in the World Cup. If they get us on the back foot and obviously getting go forward ball a lot and etc., like you saw the Springboks did struggle at a stage to defend that French onslaught. So I have who I think is going to win, but I really, to be honest, I couldn't call it.
Like you talk about a team that kicks the most in the world, and yet their pace is so high.
Crazy.
Yeah. You mentioned it earlier with the 6-2 split versus the 7-1. So obviously that means France is going full on bomb squad. Now this is going to maybe, I don't want to say hypocritical as a Safa. Do you think the bomb squad type thing is a bit overrated? Because I thought about it today and I was like, well, South Africa do it, but you know the risk to it. Like bringing all those guys on, I was not really that impressed with the 7 forwards coming off the bench from France against Italy. Like, not that they played bad, but it wasn't like this, wow, holy shit moment. is it just a bit overrated? And the 6-2 is kind of 6-2 or 5-3 is kind of the way to go. Because if you bring on 7 forwards and one of them get injured, because they do it pretty early, right? Like let's say they do it at the 55-minute mark, one of those forwards get injured, that's donezo for them, right? Is it a bit overrated? Because no one does that 7-1 split and brings them on in pairs of like 2 and 3 and whatever, right? They do 7-1. That's just the whole basis around it.
So, in my opinion, I'm probably going to sound like a bit of an arrogant sapper now, but we know I'm not. I'm the one that's not. But if you look at the forward South Africa has, right, there's a reason we can do it. So I don't think it's overrated necessarily, but I don't think France have the resources to be able to say that seventh forward that we made how can I explain it? That we made a case for to be the seventh forward on the bench, like compared to our seventh forward who could be a Kwagga Smith and Ulrich Lowe, that type of quality.
In the back line,
yeah. It's just, I think we have the resources to do it. Obviously, look, I think 7-1 is not something you should do often. I think it's something
I'm not
you
a
should
fan
shop.
of it at all. I don't even like it when the box.
I think it's just it does kind of bring, because we know the Springboks backline, for example. There was a stage where the backline felt very one-dimensional, like there's no creativity. It was the structure, just kick, etc., or just play to Delende type thing. But like the points I'm getting at is we had the resources to do it, but like I'm in agreement with you where it shouldn't be a thing where every game we're going 7-1. It's something that needs to shock the system of your opponent. 6-2, however, I think is the perfect balance, because obviously your scrum half will obviously be a sub, and then you have a versatile back that can cover kind of the whole back line. I think that's a good balance to have. And then obviously 6 forwards. Because realistically, like if you look at that French team, I would want Aldrit to play all 80 minutes. That's who I'd want to play all 80 minutes in that forward pack. And Flamont, Flamont, like I would also want him to play 80 minutes, for example. So having 6 is ideal because you can replace the other 6. But each to their own. I think it's a case of just teams kind of figuring out what works for them. They see it works for another team, so there's no harm in trying it. So,
well, now we're going to get this situation where we spoke about it previously, where you either have to take Dupont off or they're going to move him to 10, right?
Who's the sub for France on the bench?
Luku, which means he's coming on at scrum off, obviously. And Dupont, obviously, world class, one of the best players in the world. But to keep him on the field, just to have him on the field against Ireland, in my opinion, would be a mistake. Like if Luku comes on, he has to come on for Dupont, right? Because if you bring on Luku and you move off and you move Dupont to 10 and you take Ramos or Entermark off the field, that would be craziness. You're taking probably your 2 best players in their best positions, right? Dupont's obviously the best 9, but you're taking them out just to keep Dupont on the field in maybe like a 10 role. Does not make any sense to me to be doing that.
Yeah, like the thing is, I'm very 50-50 on it, because Dupont's not just a player to me. Dupont's a player that can make something out of nothing. He's a player that can do special things. But he is a very special player, right? He can do, and it's that thought of, it's almost like we can use as Ronaldo as a reference, right? He has played many games where he has stunk the place out, like it was terrible. But he pops up in the 80-odd minute or 90 minute and he puts it in the goal, and he scores a goal, wins the game. And Dupont for me is that type of player. He just makes moments
Ronaldo
happen.
didn't do it as a defensive midfielder. Then all of a sudden, like you keep him at his position. Like if you look at the game 80 minutes in, right? Obviously, you'd love for Dupont to still be on the field. Then just keep him at 9. I have no problems with him playing the full 80 minutes, right? Like your world-class players, if he can play the 80, don't just bring on Luku because you have to bring on Luku. Like if you see Dupont's not at the races, then maybe you can take him off. But if you ask me, you need a score right at the death. and you have the combination of your 9-10 being Luku and Dupont, or Luku and Intermark, or Dupont and Intermark, I'm taking Intermark every day of the week because he's a specialist 10 that creates from that 10 position, not from the 9. Like, I want Dupont and Intermark there, but I'm just saying, right? Like, Dupont is a special player, but he's not going to create you something special necessarily, right? Just on paper and what we've seen from 10. Like, you take a specialist 10 every single day of the week. That's like saying Peter Steph Tutoy is a great flank. Let's play him at 10 in the 80th minute because he's a special player. Maybe not that's a stretch, but
that's a stretch.
But the Ronaldo
I
one,
get what you're saying.
right?
I
Because
get
Ronaldo's
you. I
still
do
playing in
get
his
you.
position, and even if you stank it out, he produce something late, magical in his position.
But I feel like, why? Okay, I get what you're saying, but like, why wouldn't you think Dupont could? Because look, this is what I'm thinking, right? I disagree that Luka should be on the bench. I think you should have a back that can play nearly every position.
Versatile.
Very versatile back, because I wouldn't want Dupont, Intermac, or Ramos leaving that field against Ireland. Like, that's stupid in my opinion.
No, but
obviously,
you
look,
have to do that for if there's an injury, probably.
yeah. So obviously, like, if there's an injury, because I think Intermac could cover 15, Ramos could cover wing. I even think Ramos could play 13. I generally think he could. But obviously, you don't want to mix and match too much. But yeah, look, all I do know is that I think France, have not necessarily a better attack, but if they can get that attack ticking early, putting pressure, playing quick rugby, Dupont getting passes into Intermac quickly, playing the forwards quickly, I think Ireland could find themselves in trouble early.
Yeah.
Because if a hot French start is one of the fastest starts I've ever witnessed as a fan, like, it gets crazy. But then at the same time, if Ireland begin to dictate that game with their structure, with their pace, I think it's tickets for France. Because
I just feel like if you look at the threat of the likes of a Dupont, I mean, it's sniping around the rocks, seeing spacing behind, left foot, right foot, kicking from the box, quick there at the right. That's where his threat is, not necessarily with just the open play there. Like, you haven't seen too many times where he's not a Cheslin Colby that's going to see space and he's rapid and he steps you into another world and whatever, where Intermark can create that creativity from, for instance, open play. I'm not saying Dupont can't at all. I'm just saying, like, who would you favor doing it? I'd like backing the stats a bit on that side. But I fully get what you're saying, right? Like, I don't want to knock the guy. Obviously, their coaches know a lot more than us. We're just fans watching the game, but this is just my outside perspective. And I saw someone, when we mentioned it previously in another video, where they actually said, listen, well, I agree with that. And then obviously you have some other people that's just like, you keep your special players on the field. And I'm just of the opinion that you keep your special players on the field by not putting them in another position. Just keep them on the field in that position. But anyway, let's get to the official prediction. At the start of the year, I backed Ireland. I have to keep on backing Ireland, and I still believe this is a massive game for Ireland. When I wouldn't say they're getting judged or whatever, or that they are underdogs or anything. You've got the home ground advantage. I've seen some of the fans even saying, no, France should be the favorites. We haven't been. No, bro, take that mantle as the favorite and actually go and do it. That's what you want to do. That's what you need to do. There's no point. We've always said it with the Springboks. There's no point in wanting to be the underdogs the whole time. The underdog story is boring. I want us to kick on and be the favorites and actually go and smash some teams, right? And that's what Ireland needs to do. Stamp of authority victory. Keep that structure. Don't let these the French guys get out the ball out wide to Penaud and Louis Bilberet, where it's literally willy vanilly, do what we want with the ball, because that's literally what they do. And they get that ball out wide, it is tickets for you. French just the Irish just got to keep with their system, and they should be able to get it done. I think they have a brilliant team, a brilliant structure. They've got all the experience and chemistry in the world. They've got the home ground advantage. Ireland by 5.
Good case for the Irish. So obviously I'm the complete opposite, because in the beginning of the year I backed France. I said France would win the Six Nations, and I'm going to also have to stick by that. Now, obviously, this is no thing against Ireland at all. Like, I'm going to have to stick with why I believe they're going to win the Six Nations. And I just think the French are going to come extremely fast at the Irish. I think it's going to be, because look, the last couple times I've seen the Irish play against the French, I haven't seen that French flair. And I really think that it gets brought with the three-man band and Dupont, Intermac, and Ramos. I think those guys will really steer the French in the right direction. If Muvaka has a good game as well, a great carrier, a great hooker, in my opinion. I think when he's on it, he's one of the best hookers in the world. Like, he is top class.
But he's not been on it.
But that's the thing, right? He's due one. I don't know. But my point is, I just think that the French win it because there's just something about, like, I can't really explain it in rugby terms and do it in depth, but there's something in my gut that just says France pulls this off. And I think what's going to be the best battle on the field, I think, in my opinion, will be Gibson Park versus DuPont. And the reason I say that is because Gibson Park, in my opinion, has been the better scrum half so far, the Six Nations. He's won 3 man of the match.
Yeah, he's
3 matches in a row, man of the match.
Should have had 4. I thought they gave it a charity one to Sam Prendergast.
Yeah, but 3 man of the match performances in the Six Nations so far, and he's not even finished playing the Six Nations. He is currently the best player in the world on form right now, 100%.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. That's not a blasphemous thing to say. Like, you don't need to defend it. That is the truth.
But this is when I said it. DuPont has something to prove. He got criticized for doing the whole sevens thing. Not necessarily criticized, but it definitely, he got talks about, no, this guy can't be this because of the sevens, da 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 da. And I think he just has something to prove. If DuPont wants to bring his legacy even further, winning this game would do it massively, in my opinion, because to beat the Irish in Ireland when, in my opinion, the French are the underdogs, I really do believe that, because Ireland are just a better team, in my opinion. I admit that wholeheartedly. I think more structured. I think they're a fantastic team. But, like, I just think the French are going to pull it off. And it's not going to be by 4. It's going to be by 3. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going Ireland by 5 and you're going France by 3. Let's move on to the next one. And this is a banger. Brevon, what was one of my predictions leading into the Six Nations?
That Wales were going to beat the team, and it wasn't going to be Italy.
I'm cashing in. I'm cashing in. And I'm not drunk while saying it. I believe Wales will get it done. And I'll explain to you why. So sit tight, buckle your seatbelts, and listen up. Right? If you look at that performance against Ireland, I really hope this isn't one of those cases where that was a once-off performance. Right? That would be heartbreaking. But I felt like we saw so much nitty-grittiness of the actual Wales that we've known to truly love and adore. Right? Where they make it, I don't want to say ugly, because it wasn't ugly, but tough. Really tough to beat, tough to score points against. They're not going to play the most free-flowing rugby or anything, but they are just it's going to be a tough game out there. It's going to be hard-hitting, some little argy-bargy out there. It's always going to happen when you play the Welsh. If you look at Scotland, I've not been impressed by Scotland. I wasn't impressed by Scotland against Italy. I was not impressed by Scotland against France. No, Ireland, right? And who was Scotland's and England, right?
England.
The Scots' best game was against England, and they didn't get it over the line, right? And I think the English performances have been a bit overrated. Like, they barely attack, right? And they still lost that game. Now, if the Welsh can pull out a performance like they did against the Irish, I felt there was so much to build on in terms of the way that they played. And now you have your bigger players back. I mean, Anscombe back. You look at Max Llewellyn there. You look at what's his name again? Is it Elliot Mee or something like that? Whatever, on the wing. He was sensational. Was it Murphy or Murray or something at fullback? Was great. You look at those guys, right? They really put out solid performances. Will Rowlands has been sensational, right? You've got Aaron Wainwright from the bench. Faletau was amazing. Tommy Raffel, Jack Morgan. And it just felt like that was a team that actually played for each other out there. Now I know it's at Murrayfield, which makes it a lot more tough. But if you look at the way that Scotland has played, I think they might be there for the taking. The losing streak for Wales started with Scotland. How fitting wouldn't it be if it comes full circle and a little winning thing starts with Scotland again, while just breaking the streak against Scotland?
Yeah, I definitely look. What I can say is right. If you look at the way, and I'm just going to use the Irish as a reference. So when the Welsh played Irish compared to when the Scots played Irish,
Oh,
I feel
big
like
difference.
the Welsh gave them so much more issues, like a lot more.
Yeah,
I think the
I
Welsh,
mean, the Welsh were in the lead after half time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the Welsh were giving Ireland a bit of issues there, and it wasn't a case of like. I think the Welsh were doing well to do what they did. I don't think it was just Ireland being off. I do think the Welsh were doing great things. Um, and I hear you, right? And I also was thinking about this. I also wanted to make the Welsh call because I feel like it's a real possibility. And the only reason I'm not going to make it a possibility is I just think the Scots will be too strong at Murrayfield. I think we need to still give this Welsh team a bit more time to kind of develop what they had going against the Irish. Whether they kick on from it, I don't know. And like I said, I hope it's not this thing of it's like a one-time thing and they're back to this Gatlin ball, like terrible stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. I just think the Scots will probably be a bit too strong.
Do you think the week off might have helped the Welsh a fair bit in terms of getting that chemistry up again? Because, well, not chemistry, because they have the chemistry. A lot of those guys has played with each other before, but kind of just in terms of the system and the way that they want to operate, like they can't be worse than they already were. Like they can only add another loss to it. They might say like, okay, that Irish thing is something to build on. And don't you think that the Scots are kind of there for the taking at the moment? Like I'm looking at our comment sections and the amount of times that I've seen Townsend out, and I'm starting to see the media talk about it as well. Do you think everything's happy-go-lucky right in the Scottish camp at the moment? Probably not.
I think there is definitely an issue in the Scottish camp. And the reason I say that is because they don't look like themselves, in my opinion. They don't, because I've seen those Scots play a lot better than what they are now. But I think a large factor is you missing your best player, in my opinion, in Tuipulotu, and your captain. That is such a huge loss. And for a team that doesn't have much, should I say, world-class players, they do have class players, but world-class is a different story, right? And I think Tuipulotu is one of those world-class players that they do not have at the moment. And that's
Feels
tough.
like
But
you're converting more and more into a Welsh victory over here, Brevin, the way that I'm listening to you. I haven't said a single positive thing about Scotland, yet you're back there.
no, no, the thing is, it's Murrayfield. That's the thing. I do think the Scots can pull it off because I'm not
Fans can
convinced.
fight for you, Brevin. They can't play for you.
No, I just think will Wales be able to do that again? And is what they did enough to beat Scotland? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I fully get you. Like taking all of the jokes and stuff away. I truly hope because you see it so many times, like it could be a once-off performance that they pulled against Ireland, and the fact that they didn't get over the line kind of just stuns any momentum they had going into that second half. For me, I don't want to live in that reality. I want to live in a reality where all the teams are great. I want to see a prime Scotland. I want to see a prime Wales, England, Ireland, whatever, New Zealand, whatever. I don't really care. I want to see the best of the best from all those teams going up against each other because that's what makes rugby great, right? So I want to see that from Wales as well. And if they can pull out a performance that they did against Ireland, I truly believe they'll get it over the line. Like at some point, that losing streak has to come to an end. And if they can take the positives from that Irish game, they can do it. They can do it, right? Because they made it a horror show for a good few seconds there against Ireland, and then they just ran out of gas. And the class of Ireland came through. You look at the way that Ireland just kind of dismantled Scotland. Scotland doesn't have that class. Like the drop off to the bench is kind of equal for both teams. I think this is very evenly matched. Now I'm saying Wales to win, but I've got it by like 2 or 3 points. This might come down to a kick in the 80th minute, but I've got them to do it.
Yeah, fair. I mean, if the Wales win, I wouldn't say I would be shocked. I mean, that sounds a bit harsh to Scotland, but there are definitely cracks in that Scottish camp, in my opinion. I mean, I think we can see it. I mean, is a guy like Gregor Townsend seriously like? What is he doing for Scotland? Like, why would you want him as a coach? Like, what is he doing for you at the moment?
Play nice rugby.
No, but the thing is, they're not doing anything in the Six Nations. They're coming mid-table each time. I feel like there's a coach that could bring more out of that Scottish squad.
So that they don't sack Townsend and take Franco Smith.
Maybe, but that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think you should be with the guy who's literally just keeping you here. Like, you're not at the bottom, but you're just here. You're just chilling there, and the rest up here. And it's just...
No, very good point. Very good point. Because you want your team to push up higher, right? Like, I don't mind, for instance, the Springboks dropping a bit if we get rid of Rassie, for instance, while he was just tamely keeping us in 4th or 5th, while we know we can be pushing up higher. Right? Like, that's the kind of risk that you want to take because you want to be the best. That has to be the goal. If you don't want to push to be the best, what's the point? There's absolutely no point in it. But anyway, we'll wrap it up on that one. What's your official prediction? Scotland by?
Scotland by, I think, like 8, bro.
By 8? Okay.
That's not that much. It's still a single digit.
Wales by 2 or 3. That's what Wales at least get a bonus point. Like, I just want them to get a point. Like, seriously, they deserved something from that previous game. That was sad that they didn't get anything from that Irish game.
Yeah.
Final game, England versus Italy at Twickenham, or the Alien Stadium, whatever you want to call it. Talking point, Brevin, before we actually start talking about the game. Taking out Marcus Smith, right, in a game like this, while you try to build the combination between Finn Smith and Marcus, for a 32-year-old, I'm not saying Elliot Daly is a bad player, but taking him out for Elliot Daly, who hasn't played starting 15 or anything since 2020 or 2021. This is the type of stuff that, when I tell you they've got world-class players, one of the best teams, most talented teams in the world, but a coaching staff, like, there's no problem with Elliot Daly, but what is the point? Why are you doing that while you are trying to build another combination?
Yeah, I do think the issues always lied with the coaching staff for England. It baffles me because if you're building a combination, right? And I mean, obviously, yes, I get it. It's Italy. You don't want to injure your players. I get it. Like, it's an important thing, but at the same time, like you say, what is the point? If it's a case of Elliot Daly getting a send off at Twickenham, then maybe, but it hasn't been advertised like that. So it's, I don't know. It does seem a bit weird. I just think if you want to have done that, I think obviously they've gone with experience. But if you've wanted to have done that, then go with a fullback that might be up and coming. You know, you still have other.
You already know your fullback options. Like, why try Elliot Daly, who's 32 there again? Like, build the other combination because you know he's not going to stay the fullback because Furbank needs to come back. Freddie Stewart is still there, and Marcus Smith is there. All fullbacks. What are we doing? Thinking Elliot Daly goes into that 15 role? Let me just say this again. I have no problem with Elliot Daly. I think he's a good player, and he scored the try against France. He's a guy that does the basics very well. I just don't see the point in it necessarily while you are building another combination. Like, what was the point then of playing Marcus there the previous game? Like, just to drop him the next one. And now Marcus is your base 10. I know Finn Smith has pulled out two decent performances. One was a defensive masterclass, not really a 10 performance, because he made more tackles than passes. But your best fly-off You're not even playing at fly. You're not playing him at fly off because you're playing him at fullback, and then you're not even playing him. You're putting him on the bench. Like, does Marcus Smith deserve to have been dropped after his Autumn Nations performances, after how good he's been in the Six Nations in that 10 jersey? Now you get an injury at fullback. He has to drop to fullback, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not happy with him at fullback, then you go out of the team. Like Finn Smith, you've been good, but he's dropping straight back to the bench for me. If Marcus, or if you want to play someone else at fullback, Marcus is your best 10. He's probably the best 10 in the world on form. But you're playing him from the bench or at fullback. What are you doing? What are you doing? Seriously.
Yeah. So if you don't, I haven't actually seen the team. So what is it? A pretty much a solid team that's still strong, and they've just
So Jamie George is starting because he's playing his 100th game.
Okay.
By the way, what I'm saying is not necessarily criticizing England to the point where I think they'll lose to Scotland. To Italy.
No, yeah.
Italy, but I'm just, if this was the other team,
I'm just trying to understand. Like, is it a case
Jamie
of
George has come in? That's the only change in the front row because Kawandika, I think, has dropped to the bench, and then on the bench, in the back line, they've gone Henry Slade out for Fraser Dingwall. I don't have a problem with that at all because Henry Slade has not been at the races. And then Elliot Daly has gone to fullback with Marcus Smith going onto the bench. I think it might
but it's still a
6-2.
pretty much full strength English side. Like Itoja's there, Ben Earl's there.
Yeah.
So that's where I wanted to ask. The reason I ask is because if it was a case of they've made a lot of these little rotational changes for key players, then I would have said, okay, cool, maybe it makes sense to just give them a bit of a break. But now, if you are still playing your stars, or shall I say your important key men, why wouldn't you have Marcus Smith on the field? I mean, I guess, like you said, Elliot Daly has, and this is no criticism too, but he has had a couple decent performances off the bench. But do you seriously reward him with the start over Marcus Smith, who is your future to, I think,
those were anyway
trophies?
Like on the week. It's not even that he played fullback.
Yeah, because Marcus Smith, in my opinion, is key to England's success in the future, if they are to have any.
Well, Brevin, anyway, right? Like, if they're going to play the way that they played against Scotland, where it's just like a kicking game, then there's no point anyway in playing Marcus at 10. Because if you're not going to use his creativity and his running ability and his those type of things, then there's no point, right? So maybe replacing him with Daly could be the right decision because you're just going to play the high ball game. He's a bit more secure under the high ball and those type of things. But as I said, with the talent that England have, especially in attack, how are they not running the ball and scoring more fucking tries? I don't know. I do not know. I don't understand why you do that. It's not like the Springboks that's forwards dominant, and we've always been forwards dominant, and you know the game plan, and it's try to stop this. You've got dangerous backs that enjoy running the ball. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't think it changes the result, by the way.
No.
Italy, they will come out to play. Obviously, we've seen last season, their first game under the new coaching staff, how well they played there. Italy, probably the most clinical team in world rugby, I would say. Like, I swear they hardly get any chances, but when they get a sniff, they score. They score points. They did it against France as well, but they just won't be strong enough to beat England. I think England go into this game knowing what needs to be done. They're obviously not the favourites to win the Six Nations, but if that upset has to happen between France and Ireland, and France only gets 4 points from the game and somehow Ireland gets nothing, England knows, or they know that they need to get their 5 points, score 4 tries and win the game. So they'll want to give themselves the best shot. And for that to happen, they need to run the ball. There you go. You've seen how that Italian defense can be exploited. France did it. If you do it as well with Ollie Slytome and Tommy Freeman, who's probably been in the form of his life, you can score a good few tries out there. Not that Italy will be pushovers, but you know you can get at them. So that's kind of the thought process that I feel England has to go into this one with.
Yeah, I think England do win this in the end, and I think they should win it comfortably. I obviously do think it's, like you said, Italy will have some kind of like fight in them. They always do, but I just think they're one of the most easiest teams to break down as the game goes on. Like they'll start as well as they can, but they can only hold it for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then it kind of slowly degrades. So I can see England winning this like 39-15, 38-15, somewhere there. One of those comfortable. No, I
So
do
you
think
want
it's
like
that
23
comfortable.
points.
Yeah, I think it's a very comfortable win for England. If not, I could be reading too much, but I just think Italy is one of those teams where they're just a weird team. I don't actually know how to explain them. I could probably say they could even get in the 20s, right, for points. It's just they've come off a battering. Do they respond to it? I don't know. We never know with them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just think it will be comfortable. Let's just say that. I think it will be comfortable
I'm
for
also
England.
on the comfortable side. I've got England by 15 points. Backed on, they know what needs to be done. They need to give themselves the best opportunity, and I think they won't necessarily take all the points on offer. They'll go for their tries because they know they need to get the tries. Obviously, first and
Yeah.
foremost, want to win the game, but scoring 4 tries needs to be done. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Can we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Pretty
Sure
sound.
thing.
People, thank you very much for watching. As always, as we mentioned at the start of the video, please do remember to like and subscribe. We do appreciate your love and support as always. And we will probably see you on Monday or Wednesday for the review, where maybe we talk about the champions. Maybe we say, listen, there's another deciding weekend. Maybe it's still up for grabs after this weekend. Have a good one. Ciao. See you later. Bye-bye.